doing a lot more.
Okay.
I got, you won't like this, but I got that tonal.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I like everything.
I'm just bad at getting out, getting to the gym. So I need a stepping stone, and then hopefully.
I like what people are doing that works best for them, right? So like, when we were talking about this space here, and we haven't built it out yet, but the most important thing here to me is going to be the members area, because I see people are online, people have work from home, people have all this stuff that's going on. You're going to need a third place to go. That is not always a bar. That is not always a restaurant. You know what I mean? And like, why people come here? Fitness, yeah, but it's more about being around people, and it's more about the experience, right? Because you can do these shitty workouts anywhere. You can grab a kettlebell and you can do them from home. You can grab a tonal machine and you can work out anywhere, Peloton, everything like that. But for me, here is about connections. So like, that's more about what this podcast series is about. It's called The Pursuit. And I came to America. The pursuit for me brought me here, you know, and then the pursuit of happiness is something that I think about a lot when I think about like America and the Statue of Liberty. But the way I think of it now is more like the pursuit is happiness to me. Like whatever I'm going towards feels like that is it. So I'm going to start off just by asking you, what is happiness to you?
Yeah. I mean, I think kind of a lot of what you said there, the pursuit, right? Like they say it's not about the destination, it's about the journey so much, and I think that's true. It's true, and that's how I feel like we should live. But it's hard to live like that day to day.
Yeah.
You know, you always have your goals, whether it's your tomorrow goal or your 10-year goal or your 20-year goal or your retirement goal. But you know, if you ever get a chance to kind of reflect and look back, you realize it's all about the journey. And it sounds corny, but it's true. It's the pursuit, you know, it's all about the pursuit of happiness. So I think, you know, that you have to find happiness in like the little wins every day, the little wins from your morning or your afternoon or whatever it is to keep you going, because, you know, that's the only fuel you have, really. And
people can Google you to figure out like what Sock Fancy is and when you started and what you did. And I'm sure you've talked about that to enough people that like they could talk about where the business started and where it grew. But I mean, right now, it's been a big couple of years for you. And when I look at like, you got 2021 Inc. 5000, and you were 909 fastest growing companies on that. And then that's the third time you've been on that, right?
Yeah.
And so they're big events, big achievements that look great from the outside. Are they the things that make you happy? Because they weren't the first things you went to, right? You didn't say, yeah, it's because I was named on then that's the destination, right? You might think that people looking at that social media would say, that's the destination.
That's the destination, yeah.
But when you're thinking about your business and where you've got to now, where are the moments that stand out to you where like, that was when I was happiest, or that is where it...
Honestly, I think when you're able to, you know, when you're starting out, sure, you're thinking of all like the grandiose things and hoping that you can make, you know, a huge difference in the world and, you know, do all these cool things. But, you know, really it's about making a difference to yourself and the people around you. So for me, you know, something like the Inc. 5000, or, you know, I'm a diehard Georgia fan. So getting on the Bulldog 100 is like a dream of mine growing up in Athens. So doing that stuff is amazing.
Is the Bulldog 100 to you more than like if you're on the Inc. 100? Or I mean, how does it feel?
It's a close, I would say it's better, honestly. It just feels more at home. It feels more close to home because I know it. I've seen it listed all the time. When I was at Georgia, I was like, man, that would be really cool. Who are these people? You know, this is really exciting to see people that came. You have kind of a camaraderie almost because they came from where you came from, right? These are people like, they're almost like, you know, distant relatives of sorts. So to see these people succeed, you always kind of felt a connection. And so to do that, my hope was just to be able to, for other people to feel that same kind of connection with the school and with the program or with whatever they're studying, if it's not at Georgia or whatever. So
seeing your name gives other people the thing that like, well, I could do that too. I could.
Yeah, and just you know, it validates what they're currently doing probably, right? You know, people that are super interested in that are probably in school, or probably, you know, maybe thinking about going to school, or just graduated, so they're trying to think about what their career is going to hold. And so seeing that maybe can give them a little bit of motivation. And I know for me, it's really exciting. I mean, I'm taking pictures with, you know, the mascot from Georgia, and that's like my dream.
That's funny.
So yeah, I would say it's much bigger to me than the Inc. 5000. Not to say that I wouldn't want to try to get higher up on that list, but again, that going back to the happiness thing, what that means for me is that means that our team is succeeding, and the things that I never realized when I started the business was how much happiness you can get from making your team happy, and knowing that they are, getting a living wage, and in some instances really excelling and doing really well, and things that you never thought you could really grow and provide for somebody, because that was never in my mindset really. To do that is probably the best feeling that I've had so far in business, is to grow a team.
And I think we were just literally before this, we're talking about connections. So is it the connections there that make you happy compared to because I mean, there's some big milestones your company have hit that could be why do you need to make these connections, right? You could probably, I'm imagining, have sold and done something else, or gone on to whatever it is you want. And from my understanding, you weren't that passionate about what socks you were wearing before you even started Sock Fancy. So to push it to this level where, this might be old, but 500,000 socks in 85 countries, I'm sure that's old now, right? But that is incredible for someone that wasn't necessarily my future's going to be in socks, right? That wasn't where you were at when you were at Georgia, right? It wasn't
no.
The only business I want to be in is in socks, and if I'm not in socks, I'm not going to be happy.
I was not a passionate sock fan. In fact, it was my roommate at the time, one of my best friends, and our co-founder Futham, he was the big sock guy. I was like, yeah, it's cool. I think I could see where this might go, but it was about early on. It was and this is kind of as we started more of a subscription company. This was more about building a community around somewhat of a passionate project like you do here, right? So building a community around health and fitness, building a community around something that people are passionate about or want to be passionate about. And, socks fit into that world in a different way that, you want to, there is a passionate fan base there. So the idea to be able to kind of capture the community there was something that was exciting for me. But
is that where you found the passion for it then?
For sure.
Cultivating that.
For sure, because with a subscription business, you're able to tell your story over a longer period of time, right? So you don't rely only on the About Us page or some posts on Instagram that people get to know you or the company. When they're a subscriber, they're with you for months on end, 6 months, 12 months, even longer. So you get the opportunity to speak to them in little snippets for that whole time, right? And you're hoping that they're engaged and followed. And so that was always where the passion came from. I think until, that changed a little bit in 2020, where when we were able to transition into face masks, that was when things changed a little bit and became a little bit more gravity to the situation, right? So, not only did we see a great fit for us to be able to make this transition, but we saw a huge need, which, you could argue with socks. Of course, there's a need to wear socks, but you could get them anywhere. But our product was a little bit more of just fun and exciting and a good gift. So face masks became something crucial and vital. And our goal was to make it a little bit more palatable so you don't walk around looking like Bane or something. But, in doing so and growing that business so rapidly, that side of the business so rapidly, we were able to connect with hundreds of thousands of people that really needed something to protect them or to make them feel safe or whatever it was, and to read the reviews or hear people say, oh, this is the only mask I'll wear, it's so comfortable and blah blah blah, that felt good. So that changed it a little bit to where it really felt like you were helping on a
so
real...
to go from the definition, or the way it's described, Sock Fancy, to a fancy product that probably is a little bit of a luxury, right? Some people might just go and grab a pack of socks, stick them on. Somebody wants a fancy sock, they'll come to you. To go to that, to something that was considered essential during the pandemic, did that change the feeling for what you were doing? Did it make it different to you? Because you donated probably more than this now, but you donated 80,000 masks as well as sold 80,000 masks.
Yeah, we sold over 1 million masks last year.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this was in 2020.
That was in the beginning of 2020. That was the very beginning. We
1 million masks.
Yep. And we've partnered with a bunch of great smaller organizations in Atlanta to donate masks, and it just felt really great, and it felt really awesome to be able to provide almost like a better service than just some kind of frivolous good. So it felt good. And for that to be your growth, it was really crazy, right? Like it just felt a little bit different than selling people on kind of a funky sock subscription. And
I think what's fascinating to me about listening to you talk about it is what I think a lot of people will miss in what you're saying is you've sold over 1 million masks, you said, right? And then a part of you looked at it and said, that feels great. And you said it with not like a sense of, that feels great, right? It wasn't like the joy, it was, the process that you went through to get to this end result.
Yeah.
And with everything you're talking about, like diverting planes and like, you'd already pre-sold a lot of this stuff, I imagine, and you don't want to give that money back in the middle of a pandemic because you're trying to keep people's jobs alive.
Yeah, and people.
It's not about, we need money. It's about these people that are connected to this company need employment.
And and then the people ordering it need those masks.
It's
not just
the
a funny gift anymore.
Right.
The stakes are a lot higher.
The stakes are higher.
So the stress, I mean, you could ask my wife, she was like, are you going to be able to survive this the first couple months here? Because the stress was crazy. So you're right. Like when you're able to hit that, get out of that, which you never feel like you're
But
really
which part of that, to me, are you looking back at and saying, when did it feel good? Did it feel good when you were in it? Did it feel good when you've got to 1 million masks? Does it feel good now? Which part of it?
I guess only in retrospect, only looking back. You get little moments here and there that feel great. And of course you can say it, but for me it's always hard to get perspective. And I think for a lot of business owners it's hard to get perspective because you're just so in it. It's hard to really just kind of like lift your head above clouds and just like look a little of what you've done, what you've been able to accomplish, if you have been able to meet some of your goals. And so, I don't know. I mean, looking back and when you're asked the question, you can say, oh yeah, I felt great here and there, but I don't know. It's hard to say you ever really felt like you did it or any success or anything like that. But, I think it just goes back to kind of trying to celebrate those little wins.
Do you find that entrepreneurs and people that are doing stuff like that don't recognize that stuff because it's not the goal, right? The goal is, while you're in that, is to provide to solve a problem, to provide a great product, and then to build a team around it to provide them with jobs. The number at the end is something that most of the time other people are looking at, right? Or it is something that, like the ink thing you would post, but if you posted that we were Ink's top company, but you're not happy with what's going on, does it feel as good, right? Like if you're not being able to connect with all these people, because like I look at you and say like you've created this 7 years in socks for somebody that didn't care about socks.
Yeah, it's become my life.
And it's become your life. And then I love there was one thing I heard you talk about when you called it like the Ping-Pong Days. And I love that expression of like, that's where it started, right? On a ping pong table.
It was also our dinner table.
It was your dinner table. I'm assuming this was in college or shortly after.
Yeah.
And were they the happiest times? Is 1 million masks the happiest times? When along this journey do you find time to be like, when you look back on happiness and you say it's connections now, is how you first described it. What gets you out of bed to create them connections? Is it the connections, or is it something that's a big problem that you get up and you attack each day?
For me, I think it's knowing that maybe that you don't have a necessary end goal. There's not like a bar that you need to hit. I think it's accepting the ongoing, either difficulties or happiness or celebrations. It never ends. I've never been good at setting those specific goals like that, so I've never been kind of building towards them. It's just this ongoing feeling of growth and progress. And so if I feel like, I always say that I just want to move the needle one bit every day, just a little tick every day, and I feel good. The days that I just feel like I'm just stuck in the mud, those are the bad days. But if I feel like I got one really positive thing to kind of advance either the business or the lives of our customers or employees or family, those feel great. And those connections, like you said, that's what feels good. And knowing, so I think just starting to accept that there aren't these like milestone goals that we're trying to achieve, and when we do it, we're going to stand on the rooftop and yell and be happy, and just be happy in kind of the progress that you're making.
For me, it's always been about dreams. To come to America, I dreamt to play in the NBA. I'm 5'9", I'm from England, I'm not super athletic, never dunked a basketball. So to play in the NBA was a wild dream, right? A crazy dream. It's laughable to think that was going to happen. But that pursuit brought me here. I met my wife here. I live in America. And now it's like, what's the next dream? Where am I going next? It doesn't sound like you had like an overarching, like, this is where I want to end up. But so how do you drive forward and be like, 7 years in this industry? Most businesses don't make it to 5.
Right.
You've been here 7. Right. What pushes that pursuit of you getting up every day and being like, no, this is what I'm meant to do?
Yeah, I think that's a good point, and I think that's a good point to reflect on, how different people are, and we all get lumped into this same category of entrepreneur or business person or business leader or something like that. And what people maybe don't see is how different everybody is. There's not one personality type that's going to be successful in business. There's not one personality type that's the best CEO, and there's not one personality type that can be the best team leader or best motivator. And so I think for me, and maybe I haven't reflected on it as much, but I've had this kind of very vague idea of success. And for me, it was just to kind of always have this success bubble grow. Like, am I contributing to what I think will make that grow, whether it's financially or my family, being able to grow a family and friends, or, having success in becoming a better leader and a better boss, if you will. Just these like little things contribute to this like larger growing success idea of like vague success, really. So, because I couldn't tell you right now what exactly, what's my next big goal. Well, my next big goal is to grow the business. Yeah. And that's so kind of boring, right? That sounds like my next big goal is to grow the business to get to this plateau and then maybe to get to this one. But I don't have any huge pie in the sky goals, and I know that most people do. I might be like pretty rare or kind of the black sheep when it comes to that.
I do resonate, and I do like the idea though that it's 1% better, right? Or increasing it by. So I think some people have these overarching goals that maybe, if they're not reaching them, it might ruin their happiness. Whereas if you're going in every day and all you want to do is grow this bubble a little bit bigger,
right,
and you do that on a daily basis, then maybe that is the happiness, right? Maybe that is I'm in the trenches and it's 1% bigger than it was yesterday. Right. And over 7 years, what does that become? It becomes a huge bubble. Yeah. But if you're just focused on the big bubble, right, then are you doing the day-to-day things to get there, right?
So maybe it's a little bit different for me in that I don't have, huge pie in the sky goals. I think I could be presented with a number of different scenarios for my life, and I would be okay with many different ones, as long as I felt like it was progress. And sorry if that's a little vague.
I don't think that is vague. I really don't think that is vague. I think that is, it allows. Maybe that comes from, and I don't know if you might agree, but like, you're not the first entrepreneur in your family necessarily, are you? Right. So you've seen people grow businesses. Whereas I am the first entrepreneur in my family. And I haven't seen what it takes to grow a business and lose a business. I've just seen you get a job and you work the rest of your life in that job and you retire in that job, and that would be the dream idea of being a working middle class person. But for you, and so my dreams are like, so big because I don't want that, right? So I have to aim for this so that I don't get dragged into that, and I don't want that regular 9-to-5 existence. Yeah. So with you, I don't know if you relate to this, but maybe you've seen that you don't need a destination. You don't need this big end point. You just need something that drives you every day, and you can just make it one little step bigger every day.
Yeah, and it could be the antithesis of a lot of TED Talk entrepreneurs speak. And to me, it's just you're right. I grew up in my dad is a lifelong entrepreneur, business owner. He's been in it for 40 years. He's still starting new things here and there in his 60s, his late 60s, and so. and I remember just growing up and seeing how stressful that could be and how, devastating that could be on your personal life and on your business. I mean, there's so many things that are a struggle there, along with all the successes that you see on the outside. And so growing up, I was like, man, I would be so cool with just an office job that I knew what I was going to do every day. I knew how much I was getting paid every day. I knew what time I could clock out every day. That's what I thought early on. I was like, because seeing what it could do to you kind of weighed heavy on me, and I just didn't want that stress. But I didn't realize how much I was learning about entrepreneurship through osmosis, just being around, my dad, and on the way to school, just hearing his phone calls with whoever he was speaking with, or reading about him or hearing about his trips or anything like that. I didn't realize how much I was learning through osmosis, and it was just, there was no way I was going to just sit around and do an office job. I mean, I wanted to be able to control my future like you did. I wanted to be able to be excited every day and wake up. And I think, again, that's what I think is easy to get trapped in this entrepreneurial, down spiral, where you're thinking that you're not succeeding, or you're thinking that you're not hitting your goals, or you're not doing this and that. But if you wake up every day knowing that you can affect your future, which you can't necessarily in every job or every role, I think that's where you find real excitement and real kind of passion, right? And so,
had you tried to do the 9 to 5, or did you ever?
I had a job right out of college, but I was doing marketing for a furniture company right out of college. But I was lucky enough that right away my boss was letting me do something new for the business. So I built the website. I started to do some new marketing efforts, and so I was just lucky enough to never have to feel like I was super stifled in a role. But I knew that I could affect change, and there was no way I was not going to be able to do that, right? So I don't know if it's a controlling personality or just seeing my dad or whatever it is. I knew that I could affect my future. And so entrepreneurship to me, and growing businesses or growing ideas or growing services, to me, that was the key. And so maybe that's what it is, right? That's what I want to be doing. And every day that I'm doing that, I'm happy, right? Every day that I feel like I can do that in a positive way, that makes me happy. The end goal, we're not going to be Facebook, I'm not going to be Elon Musk probably. So that's never been my goal, but to be able to grow a little bit more every day, that makes me happy, I think. And to see other people, honestly. Do
you think that's why you haven't necessarily sold and
probably, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. I think, we've had a lot of interesting conversations throughout the years. I think
because if you look at a subscription model, most people are building them to sell them, right? I was in a subscription company for a cigar company, and I know that their goal was to get it to a certain number of subscribers and sell it, right. And it was now they can go on and do something else.
Yeah.
Where do you feel
it's probably my lack of traditional business school, or I didn't grow up in the Wharton Business School circle kind of a thing. So,
because they're throwing money. They were. I don't know if they still are, but
still are,
big numbers of money that I would look at a business as someone who, I say I'm an entrepreneur, but I'm an owner operator. You know what I mean? I'm in the business. Mm-hmm. My business makes money to pay bills.
Right.
To see these businesses that lose money for 10 years and get $20 million and then continue to lose money, to me, just doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make sense, and it's not. It's obviously not sustainable. And what you said,
but they're on all these lists, right? They're on all the Inc. lists, probably above your company, right? And you're well, our company makes money and employs people.
Yeah.
This company employs people from this gift of money that somebody gave them.
Yeah, which is not to shout out the Bulldog 100 again, but if you go through that list, you'll see a lot of these are family-owned businesses. These are really community-driven businesses. Some of them are massive, but others are real viable businesses. So it's interesting that you say that, because the definition of an entrepreneur that's searching VC money to sell in 5 years, is that the same as somebody that's growing a business, being an owner operator, like you said, that could eventually do the same thing, but maybe that's not necessarily their goal. So I've always kind of, which one am I? I can't figure out, because I know that I do want to do more things, and I am doing more things currently, and so being really steep down into the owner operator role does kind of keep you sometimes from doing those things. But yeah, I mean, maybe I think that's just by accident, really, that I'm kind of right between those two roles. Because don't get me wrong, I mean, if the right opportunity came that I feel like would continue to grow the business and it would be good for Sock Fancy, good for our employees, and good for our customers, I would do it.
Yeah.
But we're not actively seeking that. So.
And if it's, you know what you wanted to probably do next too, right? Which is be able to grow 1% better in something.
Yeah, and
and if this is still challenging you to do that,
right,
it's not yet the right time. But if you get to a level where you're like, I'm not excited to come in, and maybe the pandemic helped that, right? Maybe Sock Fancy was on this and they're like, got enough subscribers, maybe we'll think about selling. The pandemic hit and you got to shift and be like, wow, this is a new challenge.
Yeah.
For me, this is going to grow.
It was entirely a new challenge. It changed everything we were doing. You know, we went from offering one SKU to like offering 25 SKUs. I mean,
if 2020 didn't hit and we weren't coming up on 2022 now, do you think you'd probably be more likely to maybe potentially have sold Sock Fancy and be doing something completely different?
It's possible, yeah. Yeah, I mean, we were definitely looking at, as we were kind of expanding a little bit into more of the business-to-business space, we get a lot of interest of roll-up companies there. And so those conversations could have gone further or been more intense, I guess, if 2020 hadn't happened.
But big challenge hit, and you sold 1 million masks
right.
instead.
And when that hit, it was like we had the blinders on, and we're like, our goal is to get these masks out to people. Like, that was it. And then we just kind of got this, and then the pandemic just kept going on and on. And I think everybody can relate to that feeling of this never-ending pandemic where maybe we look back on it and you're like, yeah, it was a year and a half or 2 years. But when you don't know when the end is and you're sitting there like, when is it over next month? Is next month going to be the month it's over? It felt like it was going on forever. So it kind of did the same thing for business. I don't know if you felt the same way where this last year and a half felt like 10 years, because you're just stretching every day out and it's hard to plan and it's hard to, figure out what kind of moves you're going to make next because the world is so uncertain. So we were just so in the battlefield for the last year.
What was huge for me, because it did feel like that.
Yeah.
We went away for a month and
just
needed it, right? Because it was like I was just getting through each day and I wasn't inspired to like do all these things because it was like, you're just going to keep getting beaten down for a year and a half. Yeah. After 5 years in business, let's see how you can take it. And I can see why a lot of business owners use it as a reason to get out and be like, all right, I can't do this anymore. I'm 5 years in and I'm back to zero.
Yeah.
Holy shit, I've been working my ass off for 5 years to get it to this point. Mm-hmm. And now I'm back where I started. I don't know if I've got the energy to go again. Mm-hmm. And if I didn't go away for a month, I don't know if I would have come back with the energy to go again. And I was like, came back inspired.
Yeah, what changed when you were away?
It was understanding that just like Sock Fancy, and no, I'm not trying to disrespect your company, but just like Oxfit, none of it's real. Right? You've created this thing that is great and it exists now and it's doing a great thing. 5 years is not a long time in your life. And this thing all could go away. The business next door that I had has gone away. And it could all go away. But what is real is what you initially said happiness was. It's the connections. It's the people. And every day I come in here, I've got 220 connections right now of people that come in and get to experience what I do for a living.
And those live on.
And then I've got 20 coaches that I get to sit down and have coffee with and ask them about their goals, ask them about their dreams, ask them about their life. And I get to impact that personally. And I was like, that's real. My son, I've got to spend time with him. I got to go away for a month and the business still ran. And I was like, if I could have a month with my dad when I was a kid away somewhere, holy shit, that would have been a dream come true. Like, I'm going to give this little kid 18 years of that if I can. We're going away every year for a month, and we're just going to hang out, spend time on the beach. And then my wife, if I lose this and I lose everything that we've built in 5 years, but I'm still married and we still love each other and we're still able to move forward, okay, we'll start again and we'll do it again and we'll build it again. But and that's if I lose her and this is successful, I fucked up.
Yeah, there's no way.
I blew it. Because that's the love of my life. You know what I mean? So, I've got this business and I sell 1 million masks, but my marriage broke down. You're recently married. You lost, as far as I'm concerned. Like, you chose the wrong one. You know what I mean? So, to go through that and see that none of that's real and be like, what is real? Connection.
And what do you need to focus on? It's true. I mean, if you focus on growing those connections, they're resilient, right? They last through. Business names can change, and customers can even change, but those relationships that you build throughout can last for decades, if not.
And I think they're the relationships when it is all ashes and it has failed. You use them connections again for the next thing, right?
Exactly. But
if you burn every bridge, you lose your marriage, you lose your everything because you were so focused on this arbitrary goal, then you miss what's going on. And for 5 years, I didn't think about happiness, I thought about success. Mm-hmm. And I think thinking about success led me to way less happiness.
Yeah.
But if I come in here every day and like you, I focus on, I love the idea of the success bubble, like that's gonna go somewhere on my wall and I can grow this success bubble, then everything inside that is real. Mm-hmm. And the lists are great, right? Yeah. The recognition from other people is great, but it doesn't even compare to watching one of your employees go on and become a head coach somewhere else, or start their own business, or believe that they can do it because they saw you do it.
Right.
Is a crazy thing that brings me the most joy. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is it played out exactly true for my dad. What I saw personally, in 2008 when the recession hit, he had an extremely successful business that went flat and bankrupt within 6 months. And that was and he started that in 1986, the year before I was born.
Wow.
To 2008, and it just went to nothing. And, instead of just that ruining his happiness, it was just, it's a name change, it's a goal change, it's the next thing's next. And now he's got, 2 or 3 more really successful businesses, but all with the same groups of people generally, or the some sort of degree of separation with this thing that he had built his whole life. So none of that was a waste. Like, sure, that business no longer exists. That business is gone probably forever, and nobody will remember it. But his life, if you're asking about what happiness is, and you're asking about what success looks like, his life is still just as successful because you're able to move on from that. And I think that is what is crucial in the DNA of an entrepreneur, is to know that your worth and your happiness and your success is not just in this little thing that you're making up, right? Whether it's something as arbitrary as socks, or you're actually helping people's lives and fitness, but that can change in a number of different ways. Right. So it's important to recognize that, I think, and that's maybe what I did. Without now being able to reflect on it, and put a kind of a narrative around it. It feels interesting, but I just kind of, that's just what I experienced with him, and so maybe that's how I wanted to look at it.
So I used to walk from the gym every day in London, when we lived in London. I used to walk from the train to the gym, and every day I would walk past all the people that had 9-to-5 jobs. At like 5 o'clock they were coming out, and I had a 9-to-5. I was trying to be a professional athlete at the same time, and I was walking to the gym, and there was a moment every couple of weeks where I would look at them and they were all drinking and they were all standing outside, and I was going to my next job, is the way I saw it, right? I earned some money to pay rent to then go and work out. And in my mind I was like, man, I wish I could be them. I wish I could be happy. Mm-hmm. Finding a job and then going to happy hour every day.
Yeah. And actually feel. Yeah. And
I had I was almost jealous that wouldn't make me happy. Mm-hmm. And I was like, why doesn't that make me happy? And I don't think, to me, happiness was anything about that job not being good. It was about that I don't get to control what I'm doing each day. Mm-hmm. So my dream life right now is me building a week where everything that is important to me is of top priority. So I get to go through my day and do what I want to do. And on a Friday, I get to have conversations like this because I want to do them. Mm-hmm. And if they do something, great. And if they don't, great. But I want to do them.
Yeah, you couldn't do that in your 9-to-5.
And I couldn't do that in my 9-to-5.
Hey, boss, I'm just going to go chat.
What is your... Say we got another 7 years. Sock Francis. Is it 8 years? Maybe a little bit?
8 March.
8. So another 8 years. How will you know if you're happy and successful, do you think? And I mean, they might be separate things. How do you know you're happy? How do you know you're successful?
How do you know you're happy? That's an interesting way to word it. I think if you can wake up excited for the day and excited for what you're doing in the next week, or what plans you have, or what goals you have in mind, I think that means you're happy in some degree.
Where does that excitement begin and end? Because when you think back to A Million Masks, and everyone will be like, wow, I know to you that means stress, extra bags under your eyes, just like me right now, exhausted. Where is the happiness in that? Is there happiness in that? To me, there is. There's a fucking ton of happiness in that. I enjoy mopping the damn gym.
Yeah.
After a week of working 7 days a week, like, I'm crazy.
Yeah, I mean that's I agree. I mean, maybe we're just crazy because that is all that stress and all the worry and everything. That's your life, man. That's like that is where I get my like lifeblood from, and that is happiness. I would guess I would kind of, the idea that, I mean, if it wasn't stressful and if you weren't worried about what you're doing and you weren't kind of putting in the elbow grease into the business, I don't think it would be fun at all. I mean, I don't think you could get perspective. I don't think you could understand the impact you are or are not having on people. So I think the happiness is in that struggle. I mean, it's in that journey. I mean, it's such an overplayed, way to say that the destination, it's not about the destination, but it's so true. I mean, it couldn't be more true that all that struggle is the happiness.
Which bits from now, say Sock Fantasy closed today, or you sold today, someone came along and like, here's the offer. Which are the days that you would look back in Sock Fantasy over the last 7 years and you'd say, man, they were good times?
Yeah.
Is it ping pong or is it masks?
Yeah, it's all those. I mean, if you're able, if you actually put an end on it, right, and you said, hey, we sold today and it's over, and I can look back and say, I no longer am working there at all, so nothing I do today can affect what happened in the past or the vision of the idea of what I thought about the past. Yeah, I mean, it's all those days. It's the beginning days when we had our first. We used to know our customers by name because we had 20 or something that were getting socks every week, and we were choosing them ourselves personally. So we were like, I think this guy would love this color because he's from Indiana or whatever. That was so awesome. Our first, hiring our first true employee was super frightening, but really great. Every day I run payroll, it's strange. It feels like it should be the scariest day, but it's the happiest day because I'm running payroll for 20 some odd people. That's letting them live whatever their lives and their goals are.
Yeah.
And so to me, those little bits are extremely rewarding, and something that I can look back on is like pure happiness. So there's so many of those. I mean, the Inc. 5000 and stuff, I'm not going to act like, of course I love that. That's great. I mean, that's why I share it. That's why we are super excited to get it. But those again are just like, they're just indicators that we're doing it right. That all the other stuff that we like is, we're not crazy. It's great to actually like writing payroll because look what it resulted in. It resulted in, the success that people can see from the outside. So I think it's all about, and yeah,
I think them things, I don't want you to think that I don't think them things are great. Right. I do.
Right.
It's to me, they're just the social media of entrepreneurship.
100%.
They're the like magazine covers, and they're the interviews.
And you're like, I should share this, right? I should share
this. This is gonna look great.
Yeah, you're like, I should post this.
But it's not something that. It's something that you will bring up in business conversations, but it's not something that you'll sit back on and be like. It's not the trophy you need on the wall.
No,
right?
You don't put it. On your,
you'd rather print off payroll and put it on the wall and be like 20 people this month.
Yeah, and that may sound corny, but that feels better than any kind of weird awards you get. To be able to truly have an impact, especially for somebody like me who maybe didn't know that was ever a goal of mine, to never even believe that was something I could really do. To get, it's kind of a new feeling. Like it's a new feeling in the last 5-6 years to be able to say, wow, like to be able to contribute to somebody's life in a meaningful way, is awesome, and of course they're earning it every bit of the way. But at the end of the day, when you're able to say like, we provided this platform for people to grow, and we provided this place for revenue to come in so we can pay your bills. I mean, it's a crazy concept, really. So it feels really. the payoff is great there to be able to do that for people.
Yeah.
So, and to me, that's kind of what it's all about. And so, we run payroll every 2 weeks, so I'm happy every 2 weeks
Every
at least,
2
right?
weeks.
As long as I can make payroll, like that makes me happy. And so it's funny, actually. It's one of the only kind of business day-to-day tasks that I still do. We've hired some great people around me who are much smarter than me, and I can get things done way more efficiently than I can. But I still run payroll, and that's only because I just kind of like running payroll. Yeah. It just feels good.
Yeah, I still mop the damn gym
because it feels good.
And
that's like people's.
It was the first thing my business coach told me not to do. Right, like hire someone to do that.
Yeah, focus on other things.
And I get to clean them and look at them and be like, "You built something here."
Right.
That
and you're cleaning it because people used
it,
and you're cleaning it because people exerted just tons of effort and energy into something you created.
Yeah. And
you're saying, I'll clean it up and let's see how dirty you can get the next day.
I remember starting the gyms and there was all these like best of Atlanta awards that you could like apply for and people could vote for, and people were like, "Do you want to do this like best of?" And I was like, every time it came back and I was just like, no, like I could see every day if we're doing a good job and if people are happy and if I'm doing the best that I can. And it feels good to be back. I'm so excited for 2022.
I'm happy for you guys.
And just like, this is our 2008 to me, right? And
totally.
Did you come through it and want to do it again? Or did you come through it and not want to do it again? And for me, I want to go.
Totally.
And I feel more indestructible. I already did. Mm-hmm. I already knew that like a business failure wasn't my failure and that I could go and do it again. And like, what do I learn from it? Maybe that's from us not going to business school necessarily, right?
I it's got to be, right? I mean, because if you go to business school, you're pretty, you're measured on some pretty tight scales, and so you're either doing X, Y, and Z. These KPIs have to be pointing in this direction, or you're a failure. That never mattered to me, and it's not to say that we obviously don't look at those things. We run our business efficiently, but it's not what guides us personally. I think is like really in the mud entrepreneurs, people that really just want to grow it, as best they can.
I mean, maybe we're wrong. I mean, a lot of people might be watching this like, no wonder them guys are not as successful as they should be.
No wonder they only last 5 years.
But hopefully we're still married. We have a connection to our kids, and we want to keep doing this and meeting people, right? Yeah. I don't want to be known as that entrepreneur that sacrificed everything for success and everybody hates them.
Same.
So, dude, thank you for your time.
Awesome.
I hope we can do it again.
Definitely.
And
anytime.
Thank you for the socks.
I love the socks.
You know that my only socks, right?
Really? Well, we'll give you some more then so you can have a ton.
No, I don't want a ton. These are my Oxford socks from Sock Fancy.
I love them.
And I threw away every other pair of socks so that I can just grab 2 socks and I'm good to go.
Awesome.
Yeah, man.
Cool, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Seriously.
Great.
Yeah.